All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about in section 6 is our discriminants. All right, and we can use the discriminants to identify how many solutions we're going to have. All right, when we're using our discriminant, we are focusing on what's underneath the square root in our quadratic formula, the b squared minus 4ac. All right, that is all that we're focusing on, the b squared minus 4ac. We take that and when we find our number, if the number is greater than 0, then that means that we will have two real solutions. All right, so that means if we were to graph this equation, that our graph would cross our x-axis in two different places. So that gives us two real solutions. All right, whether the graph's facing up or down, we know that if our discriminant, the b squared minus 4ac, we know if that's greater than 0, then there's two real solutions where our graph will cross the x-axis at two different places. All right, if that discriminant is equal to 0, then that means there's only one real solution. So that means our vertex is going to be on our x-axis. So whether if it's facing up or if it's facing down, when we have a discriminant that's equal to 0, there is one real solution. All right, and that means our vertex is going to be somewhere along our x-axis, and it could be facing up or down. And when we have that b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, that means that we will have no real solutions. All right, so something that we're going to talk about in the future, if we get negative square root of 4, or the square root of negative 4, this right now we can't solve. We haven't learned this yet. All right, this actually gives us an imaginary number or a complex number. All right, we're going to learn that in the near future, but for now, it's something that we can't learn. But what that tells us, is that we have no real solutions because there is no square root of 4 in our real number system, square root of negative 4 in our real number system, because the square root tells us that we're looking for a number multiplied by itself twice. And there's no number that when multiplied by itself twice will give us a negative value. So there is no real solutions. There's no real number for this. And what that tells us about our graph is that it never crosses or touches our x-axis. All right, so that this graph will never be touching or crossing our x-axis. Right? It can still be facing up or down, but it just will not touch our x-axis. All right, so now what we're going to do in this part is we're just going to use our discriminant, that b squared minus 4ac, and we're going to identify the number of solutions that we have, or the number and which type. All right, so for this problem we have here, we have all we want to do is find the number of real solutions, or the number of solutions it might say, or which type and how many of the solutions that we'll have. So same thing, if this wasn't set equal to 0, we need to write it in standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. You have to write it in standard form. In this case, it already is. So now we identify what is our a equal to, what's our b equal to, and what's our c equal to. All right, our a is what's being multiplied to the x squared. So that means our a is negative 2. Our b is what's being multiplied to the x, so our coefficient for the x, so that's negative 3. And then our c is the constant, and that's 5. All right, so when we use our discriminant, all we're focusing on now is b squared minus 4ac. All right, we're not really worrying about the square root. We're not worrying about anything else. We're just looking at this, and this will tell us how many solutions we'll have and which type, whether they're real or non-real. All right, so then we plug it in. Our b is equal to negative 3. So then it becomes negative 3 squared minus 4 times a. Well, our a was negative 2, so times negative 2. Our c is 5, so times 5. So 3 squared is 9. Negative 4 times negative 2 will give me negative 8. Positive 8, because negative times negative is positive. And then 8 times 5 is 40, so it's plus 40. And then that's 49. So since 49 is greater than 0, that means our b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0. And when our b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, we have two real solutions. Right? That's all that you need to identify with this part, is how many solutions and which type. So that means you would have two real solutions. All right, there's one more example that we're going to do, and then we're done with this video. All right, and then the last example that we're going to do, same thing, is find the type of solutions and how many. Same thing, we need to write it in standard form if it's not in standard form. This one already is, so then we just have to identify our a, our b, and our c. Well, our a is the number being multiplied to x squared, so that's 2. Our b is the number being multiplied to our x, so that's negative 3. And our c is the constant, 7. All right, and all we're plugging this into is b squared minus 4ac. And then we're seeing what type of number do we have. So when we plug this in, our b is negative 3, so it's negative 3 squared, minus 4 times a, which our a is 2, times c, which is 7. All right, and now we just go ahead and we solve. So negative 3 squared is going to give me a positive 9. And negative 4 times 2 is 8. And negative 8. And negative 8 times 7 will give me negative 56. So it's 9 minus 56. And 9 minus 56 is going to be equal to negative 47. All right, so that means that this is less than 0. So our b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. And when this is less than 0, that means we will have 2 non-real solutions, 2 imaginary solutions, or 2 complex solutions. All right, and that's it for this video. So using your discriminant, this tells us which type and how many we have. So that means that we have no real solutions for this, and we'll for this last one, and we'll find that that we will have 2 of them. All right, and we'll discuss that in the future in the next section. Now there's one more video that we're going to watch, and that's it for this section after the next video.